In this guide, we're going to go over setting up a Loftek IP camera for remote access. A couple of things you want to have handy before you start this process. You need your router's IP address and password, and you'll need your camera's username and password if you've modified any of those. So first of all, we're going to make the changes on the router side. If you don't know your router's IP address, you can usually check on the underside of the router. There's usually a sticker there that will have the address. If you can't find it that way, we can also search for it on the computer. So I'm using Windows 7. I'm going to pull up the Start menu and open up the command prompt and type ipconfig here. And we can see under the ipconfig the default gateway has listed here the router's IP address, 192.168.0.1. So I've already got it pulled up here. Type that router's address into the Internet Explorer address bar. And now I'm going to log into the router. So every interface is going to be a little different. But you can see I'm using a D-Link, and we're going to go into the Advanced tab. And in this case, it happens to be the first option here, Virtual Server. Find your Virtual Server tab, depending on which kind of router you're using. And you can see here I've already got one set up, and I'll go over how I've set it up. First of all, make sure this is checked. For the name, it doesn't matter what you write. So we're just going to call this IP Camera 1. The IP address, you're going to get that from your B search or your H search program on the installation CD. So I've got that program pulled up here. In this case, I'm using H search. The model I'm using is a HDX 2640. And the camera's IP address is listed here, 192.168.0.158. So you want to take that IP address and make sure that that's inputted here under IP address. For the port number, I've chosen 1029 because it's unlikely that this port number will interfere with other things you have installed on your network. As far as protocol, schedule, and inbound filter, these are all the default settings. I didn't change them at all from what was set up on the router already. So I'm going to save these settings. And while that's restarting, I'll go over a useful website that you can use in case you need help with your specific router. This website is called portforward.com, and you can see here they've got all sorts of routers listed according to the brand and model number. So if you have trouble configuring it, or if it looks a little bit different than my D-Link, you can check out this page, and it'll definitely provide a pretty clear way for you to set it up. So now that we've set it up on the router side, we need to go in and make sure that it's configured correctly on the camera. So pull up your B search or your H search, and the only thing we're going to need to change here is this option, HTTP port. You remember in the router we set it for 1029. So you want to make sure it's also set here. The default will be 80. So you're going to change that. After you change it, you have to enter your username and password. And update it. Now we can access the camera for a test and confirmation that everything worked okay. So you can see we access it a little bit differently now that we've set up the virtual server. After the camera's IP address, 192.168.0.158, we add a colon followed by the port number. And if we can access the camera this way, it shows that we've set up everything correctly. So now I'm going to show you how to access it from anywhere in the world. We can see everything's working okay on my local network. Pull up the Network tab and Remote Access. And the first option here, Manufacturer's DDNS. Make sure it's on and copy this subdomain. Open up a new browser window and paste it into the address bar. So you can see everything's worked out okay. It opens up this prompt and we're brought into the camera. So anywhere in the world with an internet connection, preferably on Internet Explorer, you're going to take that subdomain and paste it into your browser's address bar. And that's the entire process for setting up remote viewing on your Loftek IP cam.